Recently, a friend of mine came to Estonia from India, and after coming to Estonia, she went around sightseeing and went to France, like everybody does. And then she came back and then she messaged me saying that prices in Estonia for groceries are the same or at times even more than they are in Paris. And I laughed and I said that I have been saying that for years, like even before COVID, even before the war in Ukraine and the inflation and everything. Prices in Estonia, especially the grocery prices, were absurdly high. Yeah. But anyway, in this video, we are going to talk about 5 different ways how we can save money in Estonia in these inflationary times. And the fifth method is probably the most important, so I really want you to stick around and watch the whole thing. So let's begin. Number one, renting. This is going to be your biggest expense by far. And depending on who you are and what your situation is, I would actually advise you to think about whether you want to live closer to the city, where it is more expensive, or a little bit far away, where it is a lot cheaper. Now, if you are coming to Estonia as a single person who is young, then I would really advise you to maybe share an apartment and save some money, but live closer to the center because Estonia can be extremely lonely and it can get a little bit hard if you're living away from the city. Yeah, it can be quite hard. Now, my advice to you is that if you are young and single, then you should definitely live closer to the city. Now, to save some money, you can live in a shared apartment. Now, if you are someone who is coming to Estonia and who is working remotely, but also you have a family or you have a partner, then my advice to you would be that it's better that you live a little bit away from the city. Now, you might need a car because public transport in Estonia isn't always going everywhere, but I think that would be really beneficial because you will be saving a lot of money. Tallinn itself and the region of Harjumaa itself has gone very, very expensive, but the good news is that areas outside and a little bit to the center of Estonia as well, they are still very cheap as compared to Tallinn and these areas. So depending on your situation, I would advise you to really consider it because accommodation costs can really eat your paycheck. Number two, utilities. This is going to be your second biggest expense. And electricity and gas is probably going to take a big chunk of that. Now, I haven't used natural gas here in Estonia. I have a wooden stove. But for electricity, it is expensive. It's really expensive, and it has gone up since the war in Ukraine started as well. Now, I talked about it a little bit more in my other video, but the best option if you have this Eesti Energia package is the universal package, in which you have a flat rate for all the electricity that you consume. On the other option where you can have a flexible rate which changes depending on the time of the day. That is, I don't think that's a very good option. So if you can, then stick to the universal package for electricity. If you are renting, then I would really advise you to make sure that what kind of expenses you have to pay for utilities, for building utilities, like collective expenses, for example, it is garbage or maybe the repair fund. Now, theoretically, the repair fund should be the responsibility of the apartment owner, but the apartment owners can itself specify in the contract that you have to pay them. So make sure that everything is written down in the contract and you know exactly what kind of bills that you have to pay, because afterwards it can get really messy. Number three is groceries and eating out, which is probably going to be the third biggest expense for you. There are a couple of things that we can do to limit our grocery expenses. Now, the first one is to get all the shopping carts and the client cards for all the major chains that you will frequent. Now, this is really important. I advise you to get them as soon as possible because then you can really start to save some money. Number two, batch all your purchases and make sure that you're getting them from very low cost grocery chain. For example, Lidl has opened quite recently, and I cannot tell you how much money have we saved as compared to all the other really expensive Estonian chains. The price difference is noticeable and it is huge. Now, eating out, I don't usually enjoy eating out. I've never really enjoyed Estonian food, and I might be criticized on that a lot, but I don't enjoy Estonian food even when it is outside, whether it is ethnic food, for example, Pakistani, Indian, or all these, it's very rare that you get a good food outside. So I haven't been eating out much at all. But if you like to eat out, if you like to order takeaways, then my advice to you would be, how much exactly are you saving? For example, if you're earning a lot and you don't want to spend 2 hours of time in the kitchen making something for yourself and you don't enjoy cooking yourself, then it's probably great, or it's probably advisable that you order takeaways or all these things. But let me tell you that it can get really expensive and it's probably not good for your health in the long term. So make sure that you are batching your purchases, you're getting shopping carts and client cards, and try to limit your takeaway food. And drinking, just tone down on that, please. Number 4, electronics and clothing items. Now for clothing items, one of the best thing about Estonia is a very heavy focus on used items. So for example, there are a lot of shops that are really good at selling used items which are really good quality, and you can get a really good bargain there as well. For example, Humana is one of those chains which sell these used items, and I highly recommend that you check them out. So for clothing items, I would really recommend that. Now, but if you really need to buy something that you want new, then my advice to you would be to probably visit any other European country. I think Germany is one of the very cheap countries where you can have clothing and shoes for relatively very cheap for very high quality. That is for clothing, but for electronics, same goes. Now, Estonia, if you are buying a laptop or a cell phone or something, then my advice again to you would be to look at the prices in all the other countries and think if you're going to visit there, for example, for tourism or just for a visit, then go there and buy. Now, price difference for electronics can become really, really huge. It is no secret that electronics in Estonia are really, really expensive. I have made a whole video on that topic. You're free to check it out. And number 5, and probably the most important principle that you should live by when you're thinking about saving money, is to not just concentrate on saving money, but concentrate more on ways you can earn. Now, there are a number of different ways how you can earn money in Estonia. For example, one of the best ways that I've seen is that we have a lot of things lying around that we probably don't use them. So put them up on Facebook or any other place, and then you are able to get cash for all those things that you weren't using them anyway. Another thing you can do to really focus on earning is provide services and make your own company in Estonia. Now, a lot of people have their own companies in Estonia, which they use to provide services or do business transactions. But if you are, for example, working in Estonia and you're also thinking of providing services, then I really advise you to do that. And what you can do is to make your own company. You can make your own OU, as it is generally called in Estonia, and then you will have all the benefits that a company owner might have. For example, one of the things that you can also do, that if your place of residency or where you're living is also a place where you're working from for your own company, then you can utilize part of your expenses, for example, your accommodation rent and your utility services. You can deduct part of it as your company expense. But this is very high technical talk. You will definitely need an accountant on that. So I really advise you to get one if you are providing services in Estonia through your company. Now, this was all from my side. And my question to you is there anything that you use to save money in Estonia? Are there any tips or tricks that you use that you think should be well known, but it is not well known? Please let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.